Everybody's all up in a tizzy about NFL stars being domestic abusers, or at least one of them being. I don't know. I haven't heard all the details on that, but I've seen some of the headlines. NFL domestic abuse. They need to change their policy. Well, what about the police departments of the country?
Well, I saw some dude jack the hell out of his wife or something in an elevator.
An NFL guy?
Yeah, an NFL guy. And I don't keep up on this, and obviously, I don't support, punching women, people in the face.
Punching anyone, yeah.
But I think that it's interesting that people are all in a tizzy about this. Like violence in the NFL specifically, and violence from people in sports generally. But I think the NFL, it's a harder hitting sport than most of them. And it's a concern for people. People are always concerned about violence in the NFL. Now, I don't support tackle football at all. I think that we do fine with flag football in professional sports. The athletics would still be there. It'd still have to block and things like that. Still even have late hits. But there's another group of people that deal with violence, even on a more regular basis, perhaps, than NFL players, that are far more likely to abuse their spouses. So this is an excerpt from The Atlantic. I'm going to chop out a bunch of this, telling stories and things like that, talking about what happened with the NFL. You either know what happened with this football player or you don't.
I know enough.
And there's an American profession that has a significantly more alarming problem with domestic abuse. I'd urge everyone who believes in zero tolerance for NFL employees caught beating their wives or girlfriends to direct as much attention, or ideally even more attention, at police officers who assault their partners. Several studies have shown that the romantic partners of police officers suffer domestic abuse at rates significantly higher than the general population.
I believe it.
While all partner abuse is unacceptable, is it especially problematic when domestic abusers are literally the people that battered and abused women are supposed to be calling for help?
Yeah.
If there's any job that domestic abuse should disqualify a person from holding, it isn't one that gives you it's one that gives you a lethal weapon, trains you to stalk people without their noticing, and relies on your judgment and discretion to protect the abused against domestic abusers. The opprobrium heaped upon NFL for failing to suspend or terminate domestic abusers and the virtual absence of similar pressure directed at police departments leads me to believe that many people don't know the extent of domestic abuse among officers. This is somewhat surprising, since a country shocked by Ray Rice's actions ought to have been more horrified by the most egregious examples of a domestic abuse among police officers. Their stories end in death. As the National Center for Women in Policing noted in a heavily footnoted information sheet, 2 studies have found that at least 40% of police officer families experience domestic violence.
40% is a huge number.
In contrast to 10% of families in the general population.
Wow.
A third study of older and more experienced officers found a rate of 24%, indicating that domestic violence is 2 to 4 times more common among police families than American families in general.
Why?
Well, I don't know the answer to that.
Speculate.
Bullies are attracted to positions of power.
Yeah, but why are the women choosing these bullies? Is my
Could be.
question.
Whoa, it may not be just women. It could be the female cops attacking their male
That's a good
partners
point.
as well.
Yeah, I hadn't considered that.
But you got to consider that uniform states, I am going to be paid well. I'm going to be taken care of. I can take care of you. I have the best health, medical, dental, and optical insurance that that taxpayer money can buy. I mean, it's really it's laid out there.
Probably
I'm going to be paid.
Roman soldiers had the same, same rates, right?
Well, let's look at soldiers versus police, because a lot of people go into the armed services with the expectation that somehow the uniform is going to get them, attention from the opposite sex, and I don't think that that's really the case.
Oh, come on,
It definitely is the case.
Not that
Definitely.
much attention. The fact is when you're standing there in a Spec 4 outfit, all you're saying is I earn something like minimum wage.
Doesn't matter.
Oh, come on, no.
Brother, you
There's-
don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, there is something special to the uniform. And I can say it as a person who, like, hates the uniform, hates the Army, but is still attracted to it. There is still something about
Something
that.
about a man
Well,
in
why
uniform.
can't
something.
why can't somebody wear
It has to be the attractive uniform, no, not those saggy, ugly, new camo.
why
ugly
can't
ones.
someone wear clothes that are just pressed or something? What is it about a uniform?
There's
'Cause I
power.
simply
I
don't
think it's
have
the
the
power.
authority.
I think it's the power that's attractive.
There
Power
are-
is attractive.
But a private or a corporal has no power. You're literally talking about a
doesn't
human
matter.
being that is below you.
yeah, but it's the power to bully anyone around you. If you've got the big muscles and you're the big tough guy and you've got the uniform on,
A lot of people
then
in the
you're
military are 140 pounds.
It doesn't matter. You're the
I
powerful
don't get it.
guy.
They're
You're-
not powerful.
But they appear to be powerful.
Yeah, if you're riding around in a Geek Squad car,
Everything I've heard
you might
from
be
the
making more
military
money.
guys is that they couldn't get laid in a nun factory. I mean,
What?
nothing.
Okay, well, maybe it's different for the military than it is for the police.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
right,
For God's sakes, listen to the words that come out of my mouth.
All right.
Well, anyway, it's the presumption of power, perhaps. That you know, at the very least with the police, there are people who are basically like the women for sure, and I imagine there's probably other you know, it works the reverse way, but women, there's certain women who they want to have sex with police officers, like
Yes.
that's their thing. They're cop groupies, like just the fact that somebody's wearing a
I'm
police
completely
uniform.
acknowledging
Yeah.
that.
Okay, okay.
I
You're
say
saying
that
not
does
for
not
military.
translate nearly
Okay.
as well to military.
So then it wouldn't stand to reason that it's a power thing that the women
I think
are
it's
attracted
absolutely
to.
power. I don't think
Oh,
people
okay,
in the
but you don't
military
think that-
have any power.
Okay, I
I
see what you're
contend
saying.
they are not strong. They are not powerful. They do not make good wages. Police officers may or may not be strong, but likely they are because they've recently, especially the young ones, have recently passed whatever cop test they have. They are powerful because they can shoot you and get away with it if that's
Yep.
what they wish to do. And they make darn good money. Now, if you're the low guy on the staff totem pole, you're less likely to get the overtime. But when they get overtime, they do very well. And oftentimes when they're in their retirement, getting close to retirement, they'll be given even more overtime because their pension is based on, 75% of what they were making over the last 3-5 years or whatever it is.
I also speculate that there's probably a higher percentage of domestic abuse in police officer relationships because people take their work home with them sometimes. Like, if you're a therapist, you probably try out some, I don't know, psychology with your significant other when you come home. Or you're talking. You use these skills. And what skills do police officers use every day?
Intimidation.
Beating people up and intimidation and making threats.
Well, and frustrating.
So they're going to bring that home.
The job's frustrating in a very physical way. It can be very difficult. You
Stressful.
thought the bad guy you were supposed to get wasn't the bad guy. Whatever it is you might be thinking, this, it's tough. And
But none of that's an excuse for violence,
Nope.
right? And obviously there are cops who go home and they don't do violence.
60% of them,
Yeah.
at least.
Yeah. But I also have to wonder how much protection's going on too. I bet there's a lot of that. I don't know if the full Atlantic article goes into
It does
that.
actually go into that many times these cases are
Brushed under the rug.
they're handled internally essentially rather than externally.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty big deal.
Oh, hey, Officer Johnson's wife was at the battered women's shelter the other day. Why don't we get her out of there? Why don't we, set her up in a nice home somewhere? So, I mean, what do they do that's behind the scenes that could fudge these numbers? Is that what you're speculating?
Well, no, but what I mean is the word comes into the department that Officer so-and-so may have abused his wife, and they just managed to keep it quiet. They don't do anything about it. It's just accepted.
Yeah.
So, you're beating your domestic partner. I show up at your house. I may not even know it's your house. You come out and
do
say,
like a wellness check.
"Hey,
or
Mark, how are you?" And I say, "Oh, Derek, your house." Yep, absolutely. The wife and I were having a problem here. She, came out of, or, whatever. My domestic partner and I were having a problem,
Right,
and
thank you.
he hit me, I hit him. I really think this is just going to need to go. Whatever. You use
give
these
us some
code
time
words.
to cool off, man.
Right. You use
Just
these
give
code
us a
words.
break.
It says right here, typically cases of police violence are handled informally, often without an official report, investigation, or even a check of the victim's safety.
With just a nod and a wink.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.